think it was around 1990, 1989 or 1990. So my first Pride would have been around about that time. I wanted to be out there and proud. That I remember when I came out, and it was difficult. I had family commitments and so on, but I knew that I needed to be out there and to be standing up straight and tall and proud.
We used to run into town and watch the parade and stuff, the same way you would the Paddy's Day parade. But yeah, this was when I was only like 10, so this is long before you knew like what gay, straight, bi, or even a tracker mortgage was. Do you know what I mean?
I just remember feeling really nervous going, okay, this is me standing on a street, walking through Dublin City being like, I'm gay. And that's so scary for someone that had just come out as well, and someone that was like concealing their sexual identity before that as well.
The people who were marching in front of me were people exactly like me. And I knew that, but I still couldn't come out at that point.
We were afraid to walk in the parade in case we were seen on the 14 News, so we walked on the side of the parade the whole way. We were like mind blown.
And I remember thinking it was like it's like an Alice in Wonderland, like through the looking glass, different worlds.
The power of taking over our city's streets on this one day felt very intoxicating.
In a narrative where you go in a bit kind of apprehensive, thinking like, what's it going to be like? But what you find, it's such a like accepting and expressing world that who wouldn't want to be in it?
We have sort of been told our whole lives that we're sort of different, that we're not the norm.
For many, many, many people, not understanding and knowing that you have inherent value and worth in who you are, right? Because you've been told that. And then through the hard work and blood of so many people that have come along, this word pride arrives in where you're like, you can have all of that belongs to you as much as it belongs to everybody else.
In those relatively early days, Pride was obviously much smaller, and they made us walk round the back streets, so we didn't get to, I don't think we certainly didn't get to go down O'Connell Street, if I remember correctly at that time. And you did have this sense that you were walking around kind of the back streets of Dublin. But because it was very small, it was absolutely wonderful. You got to talk to everybody, you got to give everybody a hug, or they hugged you. And then as it got a little bit bigger in the 90s then, and we did walk down to the main streets in O'Connell Street, it was still quite small. There was still that sense of you knew everybody in the community, or they knew you, or you'd heard of them, or you fancied them, in my case, or whatever it was.
Look, in the transformative DNA of Stonewall is a party, a queer space, a dance floor. And you know, when we think about that, we LGBTQ plus people have led such immense change in such a small amount of time that actually we need to create those spaces then to look after one another, to de-stress, to see each other, to support each other, to bitch about whatever it is and just vent and let it all go.
People have experienced awful lives at the hands of heteronormativity. Even saying it out loud, it's really tricky. You're like, you've been shamed for your entire life for being who you are. And you don't have a choice, but that's what happens. So when there's any little shaft of light that comes in to shine something spectacular on both the awfulness that is shame, but also the amazingness that is being queer on any level, is such a stunning thing. It's really amazing.
How we identify ourselves in sexual or gender terms is still not the norm, and is still seen as problematic by very many people.
I think people think that Ireland is much more progressed than they actually are. I did a photo shoot in drag only like 2 weeks ago out on the streets, and a car rolled down the window, shouted loads of slurs at me. I was walking through the city centre 2 months before that, holding my boyfriend's hand, and someone shouted something at me then. I mean, these words roll off my back, no problem. But to some people, they hit hard and they set a lot of people back.
Just to be with you, unexpected measure, so we can say we saw this through, and with all this pressure, so we can say the mirror was true. We forego pleasure for no forever.
Celebration is actually a small part of it. A lot of it is about resistance and equal rights, and you know, when there is a celebration, it is celebration with a real purpose behind it.
It has been a struggle to be ourselves, and we know what that's like. We know how hard it can be for people, for ourselves, and we are, I think, with very good reason, proud of ourselves for having come through that struggle. You know, I always say, people say to me, "Oh, are you proud to be lesbian?" And I say, well, no, I'm not proud that I'm a lesbian, because I am a lesbian.
Until you're able to kiss your partner in kind of every bar in Dublin, from the George to like the tiniest little Grandad pub in like Sheriff Street, and it not even be noticed, then we're always going to have a pride. Or until our trans brothers and sisters have the same rights as we do and are recognised in the same way in the eyes of the law and the state as we are, we're always going to have a pride. We're always going to have to do that every year.
I actually think about pride now for the people that got us here to be able to live the life I want to live. You know, that they don't have to live in a shameful kind of hiding away from who they are.
What we were doing was a protest. It was a political gesture. It was personally and emotionally very, very, very important, but it was also politically really important.
Every year when I walk down O'Connell Street at the start of the parade, you can't deny the feeling that the whole city is under that day. Like, everyone is just like on the same buzz. We're all out to just celebrate the diversity within our community and celebrate who we really are.
Years ago, there would be a bit of hissing and booing and unpleasant people. Now people are clapping and laughing, and you're saying, come in, join us.
My actual family come to the parade. It's the one time a year where we're all gathered. My mum has come in drag a few times. I mean, we're gonna say her version of drag, by the way. We're talking a Penny's wig. We're talking maybe a bright lipstick. That's really special to me, because I was someone that spent a long time trying to encourage them not to come near the gay scene or come to my shows, and then eventually my mum just showed up at Pride, like didn't even tell me.
It took us so long to get to this point, and we still have places to go. You know, we're not finished yet. So why wouldn't we mark something that we've achieved?
It's a way of just coming together with your community and celebrating, and it's like that song in the musical Hairspray, you know, like looking around and going, Jesus, we've come so far, but also taking note that we do have a long, long way to go.
It's about being with your community. It's about you and your chosen family together, celebrating wins that we've had, celebrating each other's identities.
We celebrate Pride to show how far we've come.
We talk a lot in Mother about the need to see each other and the need to meet each other on the dance floor, and how healing that is. And when you look at all the work that has happened in Ireland, there's been 2 absolutely seismic referenda, which was driven by queer people, both referenda, and it was driven by young people, it was driven by diverse communities.
You don't have to be a part of our community to come and party with us and enjoy our social scene, like your friends and allies, they're welcome. The door's open, come in, we're gonna have a great time.
Baby, I think there is nothing more powerful in this world than a party that everyone is invited to.
I see you now. I guess with some kindness and blindness we managed to hold this down. And now that we're standing on top of this throne, I can see you now. A mixture of kindness and blindness we managed to hold this down. And now that we're standing on top of this throne, I can see you.
Revolution can be fun. Revolution can be absolutely horrendous. But when you combine the two of them, there's a catalyst for people in there that you know that you can create community, you can affect change, you can move forward, and you can meet some of the best people that you're ever going to meet in your entire life.
For me, and I think for a lot of other people, it is also about saying we were very brave back then, and there are so many people still here today who are so brave to be out there marching. I feel so proud of them. It makes me quite emotional when I think how brave so many people have had to be over the years, and how brave they still are being today.
It was just odd because, like, my mother, she hadn't really come to terms with it yet, but she and my older sister, like, they sort of said, like, oh, like, let's go. And even I was opposed to it at the time because I guess I was just scared. But yeah, when I got there and just seeing people living as freely, it just kind of made me want to live that way as well. And I remember there was just like a little station where they let you like add a little color to your hair, and I felt like even that was so liberating in itself. Just like little things, which has definitely like worked up to like where I am now.
The word pride means to me being able to look somebody dead in the eye and letting them see you completely, do you know, all of you, and not hiding any of yourself.
It's not as relevant to a lot of people today. That's perfectly fine. That's what happens with history. We keep moving forward, and then we start moving into different things. You know, whether it is
Trans healthcare, LGBTQ plus parental rights, you know, dismantling structural racism in our country, ending direct provision.
We're coming to our second year of Pride being a virtual one, where people who are living outside of Dublin, who normally really depend on an event like Pride to get up to Dublin and to be around people who are just like them, are still stuck indoors. And it's been a long year for those people.
The world is still very homophobic and transphobic, so you know, we need to make sure there are spaces where we can just be us and be authentic and not worry that we are in danger.
there are thousands of people around the world that do not have the same rights that I have sitting right here now today, and we have pride for them. We have pride to remember that at any second a person or a party can get into power and roll back on your rights.
You know, I think of people who are trans, I think of intersex people, people who are non-binary who come out with their banners. I think of people who are lesbian or gay who come from very small places maybe and who are getting out on the street. All of that means you have to be brave. And you know, I sometimes stand at the bridge and look up O'Connell Street to see the hordes coming, and I think, isn't that just amazing? Aren't human beings just remarkable?